compliance with RSU 38 policy BED, remote participation in school board meetings. The meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the Maranicook.org YouTube channel. For public participation, please be aware that during the course of this meeting, the microphones of the viewing audience will be muted, except for during identified portions of public comments. What? Oh, number 2. For today's agenda, that's number 2. If you'd like to speak during this agenda item, please use the chat feature to signal Mrs. Diane McGregor, and she will communicate with me. In-person speakers, please sign up on the clipboard by the door. All individuals that wish to speak, whether in person or virtual, please identify yourself with first and last name and the town you live in. Please note that individuals that do not live in our member communities may or may not be granted permission to speak at the direction of the board chair. We also ask that speakers limit their individual comments to 2 minutes. And if someone speaks ahead of you that has a similar view, please reference their comment. We thank you in advance for your constructive comments and ask that you be respectful and try to adhere to our norms of listening to each other and being respectful of each other. Our attendance and all our votes tonight will be done through a roll call. When your name is called, please cast your vote with the 3 available options of yes, which means you approve, no, you disapprove, or you abstain. Thank you. So we're going to do roll call for attendance to start off with. Forget it. Oh, sorry.
Here.
Dave Parker.
I'm here. I can barely hear you though on this end.
Hold on, we're going to change out my microphone. Oh, is that better? Oh, there we go. Perfect. Thank
Yes.
you. Dane Wing,
Here.
Tyler Dunn,
Here.
Kathy Jacobs. Here. Melissa Tobin,
Present.
Patty Gordon,
Here.
Rebecca Lambert,
Here.
Betty Morrow,
Here.
Sean Roderick is not here yet. Kelty Bowden, not yet. And David Twitchell, here. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so item number 2, do we have any citizen comments that are not budget related? Because you'll have a chance during the other discussion for budget related comments. Seeing none, do we have any additions or adjustments to the agenda by any board members or the superintendent? I do have one. Everyone, it's 4E, appointment of first probationary contract, grade 1, Manchester Elementary School for Mishka Bergdahl. I also have one, which would be 4F. I would like us to discuss the possibility of having a student board member. Anyone else?
I had a question. I don't know whether it should be for tonight or just for on our board annual self-evaluation. I'd like to at least discuss sometime in the future, having it be more like the superintendent's evaluation, where it's not just me evaluating me, but for us, evaluating us, but rather get feedback through it from the admin teams and other members of our school community. So not necessarily tonight, but I'd like to get that on the agenda.
Okay, sure. I'll make a note of that for
Thank you.
next meeting. Thank you, David. Anyone else?
I do have a comment. I don't know if it falls more into a citizen comment. Sorry, this is Jade. I have an email from a parent in regards to sports And I don't know if you guys want me to read that here or wait for a later time.
You can read it now.
Okay, so the message says, hey guys, I'm not looking to make waves, but was hoping for some clarification. We were told today we can't use the school gymnasium for rec the rest of the week while our schools are remote. I assume the schools are shut down for staffing reasons. If so, why can't we continue using the gym for community sports? We set up and pick up after ourselves. I'm about to send out a global rec email canceling skills and drills and all of our home games for this coming weekend. I understand we have high case counts, but those kids could stay home and the rest could continue to play. My 2 cents anyway. And while I have you, I think it's truly unfortunate for both MS basketball teams to have the end of their season canceled. Both teams had case issues and our playoff games were supposed to start today, but since we had such high case counts, we had to forfeit. I'm not sure what, if any, effort was made to try and reschedule and push back the playoffs. I know many other teams are involved, but pushing back a week doesn't seem too unreasonable to me. I feel like the high school would have no issue rescheduling, but because we are middle school, it gets swept under the rug and forgotten. We had 3 other games canceled throughout the season. Just an awful way to end the season, but I know some things are just out of our control. These kids just can't catch a break. And I'm tired of hearing, well, at least they had the ability to play. How long is this going to be the standard? I'm tired of not pushing back and challenging these decisions. That's from a parent in the community.
Thank you, Jade. Would you like me to respond real quick?
Jade, just so you know, I mentioned this to Dana already. I am working on a plan to be able to at least have Saturdays, rec games and have gym space for them. And if we don't have it settled tonight, it'll be settled first thing in the morning around that. So just so you know, heard you and we're working on it and we will have a plan. I kind of have a plan A and a plan B right now. So if it's not out today, it will be out first thing tomorrow morning. So just so you know, okay?
Okay, is there any update on the middle school games by chance?
The update that I can give you for the middle school game is I don't know how the league runs, and this is just being honest. I know there are extenuating circumstances across the schools, and it was agreed to with all of the athletic directors in the league that if at playoff time teams had to cancel because of COVID, that there would be no makeup and you would forfeit the game because that's basically the end of the season. So that's what it kind of boils down to, is it's not just a single Marana Cook decision, it's a league decision, right or wrong. I don't know much more than that. So I will talk with Brant tomorrow, just haven't had a chance to talk with him tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So Jay, I just have a quick question. So is there going to be a response to this parent that inquired? And if so, who would respond?
If you would like to, I could, if Jade is comfortable giving me contact information after the meeting, I have no problem reaching out to that parent.
Okay, can you do that, Jade?
Yeah, I can follow up with them as well too. I'll make sure that they're what they want me to do.
Yep.
Thank you.
Already have.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. So moving on to action item number 4A, do I have a motion for approval of the minutes of January 5th, 2022?
Motion to approve the minutes of January 5th, 2022.
Second.
Was that David or Kim?
I think it was Kim.
Okay.
You choose.
Yeah.
Any discussion?
None? Okay, Kim.
Yeah.
Dave, Gilman,
Yes.
Jade,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Melissa,
Abstain.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yeah.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean, you're just coming in. We're moving approval of the minutes of January 2, yes, sorry.
January
5.
January.
Yes.
Kelsey. Yes. And David Twitchell.
Yes.
So 12 yes and 1 abstention.
Okay, do I have a motion for the nomination of interim high school principal Michael Harris?
I move, we nominate interim high school principal Michael Harris.
Is there any discussion?
Before you vote, Mr. Harris agreed to come to the meeting tonight. So Mr. Harris, would you like to step up to the podium and just briefly introduce yourself to our board?
Could you speak more to the mic, please?
Welcome. Yeah, I think he's running into the same issue that I ran into.
About the mic.
That's practice.
There we go.
Well, I'm getting up early. You're in luck, because otherwise I speak in 45-minute blocks going back to my time as a teacher. So once again, members of the board, Superintendent Directed, thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm very much looking forward to this is the final step in my relocation to my family. We've been here for about a year and a half. Only part-time, looking forward to being full-time, and very excited that it will be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are very excited that you're willing to join our team. Mr. Harris comes with a lot of background that I think is going to be advantageous to the high school, and I'm looking forward to some really good things from him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so. Oh, go ahead.
Any other discussion?
Yeah.
When does he start?
When does he start? No, it's not. He's looking at a date of February 10th. Yes. Yep. Yep. So it's coming right up.
Be here
Another
before you know
2,
it.
3 weeks. It'll be here before we know it. And I can't have it come soon enough, I'll be honest. What's that? Yeah. Tim, you're first up.
Yeah, welcome.
Dave Gilmay,
A welcoming yes.
Jade Parker,
Yes, welcome to the team.
Dane,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes, welcome.
Kathy,
Yes, and we're looking forward to having you with us.
Melissa,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes, welcome aboard.
Kelty,
Yeah, welcome.
and David Twitchell.
Yes.
Okay, unanimous. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for coming tonight. Okay, so do we have a motion for the appointment of first probationary contact teacher at Reed Field? Sarah St. Laurent.
I move that we appoint first probationary contract teacher at RES, grade 4, Sarah St. Laurent. Second.
Any discussion?
What's that? Kim,
Yeah.
Dave,
Yes.
Gilmay, Jade,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Kelsey.
Yes.
And David Twitchell.
Yes.
Unanimous again. Thank you.
Great. Is there a motion for the appointment of first probationary contract teacher in Wayne, Sydney Goodrich?
I move we appoint first probationary contract teacher at WES, grade 4, Sydney Goodrich.
Second. Any discussion?
Kim? Dave Gilmay,
Yes.
Jade,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Kelty.
Yes.
And David Twitchell.
Yes.
Unanimous. Thank you.
Is there a motion for the appointment of first probationary teacher in Manchester?
Yeah, Mishka Burdahl.
Okay. Mishka Burdahl.
I move we appoint Mishka Bergdahl as grade 1 teacher at Manchester Elementary. First probationary grade 1.
Second.
Any discussion? No? Okay.
Okay, Kim,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Jade,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
Patty,
Yes.
Rebecca,
Yes.
Betty,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Kelty.
Yes.
And David.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Okay.
Perfect.
So the next item that was added to the agenda isn't really an action item. It's more of a kind of get a consensus from those of you that are here. So a couple of people on the board have asked me about the possibility of having a student board member, which is a little bit different than the representatives that we have. It would be a full-fledged member that would be sitting at the table with us every week at all of our meetings. I've done some research and I've asked around at different schools. Most of the schools that I've talked to have 2 representatives. And they're usually their junior, senior, and there's lots of different ways that they're appointed to the board. But before, and Jay's done some research as well and talked to a few people, but before we go any further, I just wanted to get a feel from the board to see if that's something that you want us to move forward with, or if it's something that we aren't really wanting to do right now.
Go ahead.
I think that was.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Are they allowed to be voting members or just in on discussions and?
They can vote, but their votes don't count. So, but they would be involved in all the discussions,
In the discussions, they can vote, so we know their opinion. but
Yes.
They would not.
but their
Okay.
vote wouldn't count, when we're making decisions.
And that's not to exclude them, but because of the RES agreement that
Right.
appointed us.
Exactly.
Okay.
Patty?
I think it would be awesome. I'm remembering many moons ago when there were students on the board, and I think it stopped, and somebody who remembers also can remind me. But I think it stopped because there really wasn't anything for the students to, or the students didn't feel like they were really active members because they couldn't vote and they couldn't go into executive session, which I'm assuming is still the case and all that stuff. So I know you have done research, and I'm not asking for like a full report of it or anything, but could you just say something about that? Like, how are other people how is it working for other people that it's working out and the students are feeling that they're a part?
From and I've talked to quite a few people. I probably talked to maybe 6 different board chairs from 6 different districts, maybe more, maybe less, but anyway, they have really thought that their students were a really important part of their meetings, of their discussions. They really felt that they had an insight that none of us have, because they're right there in the schools all the time, and that they could really offer us some information. And it sounded like the students themselves were really enjoying being a part of it, from what I've heard. David and then Kelty.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like a class president, are they nominated from their class into this position? They best represent like a
You
senior.
mean for the board?
Yeah.
There's, every school I talked to had a different way of assigning or nominating students. So, I mean, if we want to go that way, then we could talk about that at a
I
further, you
figured they
know,
would want their best representative. And
right.
I think it's a good idea because, they're right in the thick of it all. And they give us also a view that we don't normally see. So, but. Thank you.
Kelsey?
That's exactly what I was gonna ask, Dave, is how they get on the board. It's got the-
And that could be really up to us to decide how we would, I mean, some places they've been interviewed by the board chair, they've been nominated by maybe a teacher or an advisor, and then one thing that they did say, they didn't have a whole lot of people stepping up to say, pick me, but they had, some places they would be interviewed by the superintendent and the board chair. Other places they were voted in by the student body, other places they were appointed by the principal. So there was a lot of different ways that it was happening, but we could decide for ourselves how we wanted to do that, if we want to move forward with that. Sean?
I just want to add, I think it's a great idea. I actually, in full disclosure, talked to Kathy about this because I heard from other school board members that it really helped them in their decision making.
Go ahead. Tyler?
Yeah, I'm all for it. I think when I was here between 2014 and 2015, it definitely felt that the students did not have a say in district policy, or it just felt like any opinions we had, it was never brought up the chain. So I'm definitely all for it. That's why I'm here, for the same reason. And yeah.
Great, thank you. Melissa?
Yeah, so I'm absolutely for student representation, but, and I do understand that we have subcommittees that involve teachers and staff. But if we're going to have students, why don't we also have teachers and staff? Because they're already on subcommittees.
Because our policy says that board members' families cannot be on the board. I'm not explaining that right. You can't be on the board and be employed by the district. That's what I mean.
So it has to be non-employee
Yes,
representation.
right.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank
That's
you.
a good question. So I think I'm here. Dane?
I think it's a good idea. My only recommendation before we go putting 2 feet forward, if you will, is if we put it out to the school, the students, and see what they think. And if it's like,
Jay's sort of done that.
okay,
Yeah. He's been putting his feelers out
Yeah.
since he's been up to the high school. So, yeah, but that's a good point.
What was the level of interest?
Based on just the brief conversations that I've had, I think we will get, if we say 2, I think we will get at least 2, and we might have more. We might have to come up with a process, but I was pleasantly surprised. There's definitely interest at the high school. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm sensing that there's a consensus that we should move forward with this. So if I could just see your thumb, yeah. Well,
Yep.
Okay, it's like we'll do it. So we'll continue working on it. Thank you. Okay, so now we get to do the budget. So the first thing we want to talk about when we're starting our budgets is what our goal is going to be for our budget for this year. And in your folder, you do have some goal statements from some previous years. We can keep them, we can change it, so it's up for discussion. Any discussion? Any suggestions?
I have a thing, I can't not say something about like wordsmithy stuff. I wonder about, and I feel like I said this last year and the year before, but I'm not like hugely wed to it, but I wonder about taking away the word success and using growth instead. I just like that more personally. So that's what I'm wondering. I like last year's statement, but I would change success to growth. Thank you.
Rebecca?
I'd like to also include that there's going to be a focus on staff recruitment, retention.
And their emotional and mental
Yeah.
well-being.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. And
Anybody else?
I think that should be for everybody, because I think students are suffering pretty bad right now as well,
So we could say,
especially not being in school.
we could say support all students and staff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think we're really
Right,
gonna
that's
have to concentrate on that moving forward. And I know I'm not saying we're not, but I think it needs to be a huge priority. Kids missing sporting events and school activities is a huge emotional drain.
Diane? Tyler?
I think a better way to frame it maybe would be to continue to develop, preserve, and protect the academic institution. Because I think where we're having, with all the effects of COVID, with the high rate that we're losing staff, I think if we come out and say we're trying to preserve the institution itself, I think it'd be a better sell to the community.
Could you repeat that, please, Tyler, what you said? Not
Yeah.
the whole thing, but what your words were.
To maintain, preserve, and protect the academic institution for long-term sustainability.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I like all those and the original, so if wordsmithing, they can be put together, it sounds great.
How about if we said something like to support all students and staff, to support all students and staff, and this is just a real off the top of my head, academic, social, and emotional growth in order to preserve, maintain, and protect the academic institution for long-term sustainability. So we kind of combined, and that wasn't exactly how I wanted to word it, but just kind of combining.
Do we also need the phrase,
Oh,
do
Go
we
ahead,
also
Patty.
need the phrase about fiscal responsibility? Because it's the budget thing.
probably. It might help.
Want me to try to read that, what you said?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'll try, and I think Donna can probably help me here. So to support all students and staff, academic, social, and emotional growth, to preserve and protect the institution for long-term sustainability while maintaining fiscal responsibility. I don't know if I got everything word for word, so
No.
please feel free to correct me.
it sounds right, but that's extremely long.
Yeah.
Oh, in order to, I missed that.
In order to preserve, maintain, and protect, preserve. in order to-
Just for a correction, emotional success is now emotional growth.
Yes. Patty?
Do we want to say students and, are we saying staff's academic growth? So that seems a little funny to me. I mean,
Yeah.
That was the part that didn't quite fit for me
Yeah.
either.
Well,
I don't know if I'm
perhaps,
sold on the institution part. either.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to flow. I agree with that. And it seems sterile.
Okay.
Perhaps Jay and Donna can work out wordsmithing it, and then at our next meeting, we could decide on the final.
Is that okay with the board, or do we want to come to a decision tonight on our goal? What? We can work, we can continue to work on it.
What if you put, like, if you actually just say where our goal is in bullets, then you can wordsmith.
Right.
That somehow, that makes sense.
Is that okay? Okay, yes, I can do that. Okay, yeah, and then you can, yep, and then, yep, I can definitely do that, yep. To us. We can send a draft out ahead of time to make sure we've got everything that we need. So, okay, before we finalize it.
I meant like as a board, we'd say like, one of our goals is to support students' academic. Okay, great. Another one is to maintain the, okay, great. Another one is to
Right.
fiscally, you know,
Be
okay. So then
fiscally
Jay was saying, all
responsible.
right, we have our goals, and we can,
Right.
that's just what I.
So I think he's got those all
Okay.
written down. So.
And maybe we could have the staff part. I think it's awesome to have that in there. And maybe it could, instead of saying academic growth for staff, say professional growth or something in the staff bullet.
Professional growth for staff. Yeah. Got it. Is that okay with everyone? Those things, as long as those things are in the goal, however they're all put together, and Jay will send that to us and we can.
Yes.
Okay? The budget goal, yes. No, just for the budget, yes. Okay, great. Ready to talk about enrollment? I can, yes. Okay. So in your folders, it's number 5B. I just wanted to share with you, as we get started, what our enrollments look like across the district at each of our schools. For example, when you see Manchester and you see a 5/6, that means one section has 5 students and one section has 6 students. For example, kindergarten, one class of 14, another class of 15, so that's 2 teachers. So as you're looking at that, you'll see going through. What we also did was let you know fully how much are in all elementary students in grade 1, you see a number there of 76. And then what we did was we averaged it out based on how many teachers teach grade 1. So in that particular example, there's 15 students per teacher. Obviously, that's an average, so keep that in mind as you're looking at it. Then you can see the middle school enrollments as well as the high school enrollments. And again, the totals that are there. So we have 519 currently. This is like hot off the press kind of thing. 519 in the elementary schools, 302 at the middle school, and then at the high school, we've got 364 students for a total of 1,185 students at this time. One of the things that you don't see here as you're starting to think about enrollments kind of rolling forward going into next year is, remember, we also have superintendent agreements. We also have tuition students. Most of those tuition students are from Fayette. So I just want to let everybody know that Fayette, at this point, only buses to Maranicook. So they have school choice when they get into 6th grade, they can decide where they want to go. Normally, they had buses that they would send out. Now they're just busing to Maranicook. So the results of that are we're getting the majority of the Fayette students are choosing to come to Maranicook. So again, when you look at like the number of 82 that's currently in the 5th grade, those will be next year's 6th graders. We will be somewhere close to 98, 99, possibly 100 students once we factor in Fayette students coming over. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. That's something that we can choose to continue to accept, or we can actually deny those requests. For us, obviously, it's been beneficial to have the students here. Go ahead, Melissa. Any questions as we go along? So, yeah.
As a first generation who came out of Fayette, who got to choose, I chose Marina Cook. I want to say, not that anybody wants to think about it, I absolutely would be completely against them not being able to come here. And I've said it time and time again, especially since word on the street was that they had considered closing down their facilities because of lack of enrollment, thinking outside the box and utilizing them. And even, that's further down the road, but I keep saying it, and I think that this is the time when we need to think outside of the box, and especially when we have aging facilities and blah, 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 to utilize not only Fayette students, but Fayette facilities.
Yes.
I just want to keep throwing that
Yes.
out there.
It's all good. So I just wanted to kind of put that in the back of your minds. Remember that we will have Fayette students that will be coming in from 5th grade into 6th grade at the middle school. So the middle school in all likelihood will kind of hang out at about 300. This is one of the highest totals that they've ever had at the middle school. Just so you know, it's not the highest, but it is one of the highest. And again, you're probably looking at several years of 300 in the middle school before it kind of starts to drop down again from there. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there so people would know. The next couple of pages are information that I get from the New England School Development Council. They provide a population study for us yearly. So page 5B, it's actually page 2. That's the historical trends going forward. So for example, in 2016, we were at 1178. And like I said, right now we're at 1185. So we're kind of flatlined for the most part. When you look, we'll go up and down a little bit, but we don't typically go up by any great numbers at any particular time. Also, and I know this chart is really small and hard to read, but on the historical percentage changes, notice down at 2021, you'll see a difference of negative 3.6%, which accounts for 41 students. That was the COVID year, hybrid and all of that. Notice that we rebounded this year and we got most of those students back. Obviously, there's a few that didn't come back, but most of them did come back. So just looking historically at things, knowing that we're kind of flatlined for the most part. If you turn the page, again, that's just a visual representation of what our enrollment numbers have looked like since 2011 to 2021. And again, we're currently at 1185. And when we started the year, we were at 1139, but we've obviously gone up from there. So just a visual, easier to see. And then on the next 2 pages, those are the projected enrollments. So when you're looking at that and looking at classes, you'll see like their birth year, and then follow that across, then you'll see how they kind of stagger going up. Remember, the purple is based on estimates of what we think the births will be. Notice they stay pretty standard for the most part. The light blue is based on children that were already born. And again, notice that it's pretty consistent as you go forward and as you roll them forward. It is showing that we would see a slight increase of students over about a 10-year period. But again, it's not a dramatic, like 100 students coming in. You're probably looking at 15 to 20 students over a 10-year period. So we're kind of flatlined. It's always good to have enrollments coming in, but we're kind of flatlined And then again, the very last page just shows that kind of slow growth going forward. So it's a visual representation, knowing that this is an estimate. Nothing is obviously etched in stone, but it does show a slight increase going forward in about the 10-year period there. So it's always good to kind of have something to anchor yourself to as we're making decisions going forward and what the future may hold for us. So I wanted to share that with you. And of course, if you have any questions about enrollments, please don't hesitate to reach out and I can answer any questions or talk you through or find the answer if I don't have the answer right handy for you. So,
Got a quick question, Jay.
of course.
Historically, have these projections, estimated projections, been pretty accurate?
Yeah, they've been pretty accurate for the most part. Obviously, last year was a little off because it was COVID last year.
Yeah.
But before that, it was pretty accurate. They were getting pretty close in terms of their estimates. So, yeah. Again, that's why I like to see it and take a look at the data just because that way you can start to think long-term a little bit about some of the decisions that we may have to make at budget time. What are the long-term implications of those?
Any other questions for Jay about enrollment?
Okay, Superintendents Directed. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Could you just repeat how many kids there are?
I don't know the exact number. This year we got 15 that came in. So I'm guessing we're going to get somewhere pretty close to that going into next year. Usually their class sizes are 12 to 18 and we're getting like 15 of them. So,
That's additional per year.
right.
Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Any other questions or discussion about the enrollment?
Okay, Superintendents Directed. So when we start building the budget, I give the administrators a little bit of guidance on some of the things that I would like them to pay attention to as they're planning going into next year. So I gave them a goal. In the past, I've given them a goal of a 0% increase. This year, I didn't think that was going to be realistic, so I asked them to be thinking in the 1% to 2% range. I also, and I know I've talked with several of you guys about cost of living and the prices of materials and stuff. So I said 1% to 2% as just kind of a target number to shoot for when they were working on their individual budgets. I wanted to increase the transparency and equity of spending practices. And then, of course, I wanted to reduce or eliminate wish list budgeting because I think that hurts us in the long run. So, so that was kind of what the framework that I gave them. I asked them in the middle school, to look at their staff sizes. And as far as class sizes went, a class would stand alone if it was anywhere between 15 to 20 students. But if it was 21 or more students, we would split the class up, especially, and that was for the elementary schools that we were looking at. The middle school, we try to shoot for a size of about 18 to 22 per kind of team. And that's a little bit funky because again, they have multi-age teams. So in the end, they might have, like 66 kids on a team, but if you break them out into their classrooms, then there's, 22 in each classroom. The high school, I gave them the directive that all classes had to be 10 or more students in a class so that we can, with a straight face, show that we're using that resource. A teacher teaching to a class that only has 3 or 4 students in it, although that's very nice, is also not a real good use of resources. So we really need to look at our classes and what courses we're offering so that way we can maximize our teacher time with that. Just a reminder, pre-K, Reedfield Elementary School has 2 sessions with a cap of 16 students per session because they have an ed tech there with them. So they would have they could have up to 32 pre-K students, 1 in the morning, 16 in the morning, 16 in the afternoon. Manchester is a single teacher, so they have a cap of 8 students. But again, 8 in the morning, 8 in the afternoon. Obviously, if those numbers were to go up, we would have to get an ed tech. But in general, that's what we've been using, and that's been consistent in my time here. Mount Vernon has a single session, and they have 16 in that morning session, and they have a part-time ed tech to help with that. And again, Mount Vernon has been very consistent in having usually 12 to 14 students in pre-K. They've been very consistent, again, in my time here. We are not looking to make any changes with regular ed techs. Guidance, we currently have 4, 2 at the, there's currently 5. We do have an extra guidance counselor that we're paying with COVID funds right now, so that's something we'll have to consider going forward. But at this time, we're not looking to make any changes to guidance. Nursing, we currently have 5 nurses, and we will have to have a discussion about Mount Vernon and Wayne currently have the extra nurse that they're sharing right now. So we'll have to have a discussion about if we want to back away from that or if we want to continue to fund that as a board. There will be no changes in our library staffing this year. We're good there. When we budget in schools, I asked the administrators to budget based on their October 1st student counts because that's what we get from the state. Our enrollments will go up and down over the year, but we have to report it twice. And the one they use for budgeting is the October 1st count. So I asked them to plan their budgets based on what are your numbers on October 1st, knowing that that could go up or that could go down. It's just kind of the way it is. Each school gets $200 per student to budget in the following lines of curriculum supplies, books, and classroom furniture. And the principals kind of divvy that up. They're the ones that are in charge of kind of divvying that up. Our Title I school identified schools, which are Wayne, Mount Vernon, and Reedfield, get an extra $50 on top of that 200 because there obviously is going to be a higher need there. And then our identified Tier 3 schools get an additional $25 per student. And our Tier 3 schools are Mount Vernon and Wayne. So we're trying to divert resources to those places that need it the most going forward. Let's see what else. The professional development funding, we base on staff count, and we allot $200 per staff for professional development through the course of the year. And again, the principals kind of help manage that number going forward. And that is the basic directives. So Mandy and I at this point, I was telling Kathy, got a preliminary EB 279, which is the total breakdown of what the state will be giving us. It came out last night at like 8:30. So I haven't had a chance to analyze it yet. The general quick look is that we are up a little bit. We're going to get a little bit more money, but it's not like record breaking. Oh my God, look how much money we got. It's just kind of, maintenance of effort more than anything else to help us with that. But again, I always say the more money you get, the better. So you never say, no, I don't want the money. But there is a slight increase there for us to work with. So we are starting to analyze budgets right now and obviously put things together, and you guys are going to get more of that as we go forward. So we're right at the beginning stages, but we do have the principals have submitted theirs. I am working with the high school because there was a couple of questions with Dr. Conway leaving, and I'm working with the high school to get that solidified, but I'll have that ready for you guys by, February 2, I think is our next meeting. So, or whatever the next meeting is February 2, I'll have it ready for you guys there. So we'll start a round of presentations. So that's kind of where I kind of just pointed them in the direction of that they needed to go.
Tyler?
I have a question on the school supplies. I know this is always a touchy subject. What, I know we have the $200 allotment for supplies. What is the growth rate on that over the last couple of years? Has that number fluctuated as supplies have become more expensive?
Yeah, so I actually bumped it up this year. In the last year, it was at 175 per student. I bumped it up to 200 because I thought we're probably going to need it this year. And there would be some, we'd have to deal with some of the demand issues that go along with that. So I did raise it by $25 a student.
Okay.
Any other questions for Jay? Dean?
Is the state currently covering food services?
Yes, it is.
What
Yes.
about next year? Are they stopping? Are they going to continue next year?
Yeah, that's a really good question that I don't have the answer to yet. The talk is they're looking for a way to extend that, but it hasn't been decided yet. So that's a great question. I just don't have an answer to yet.
When they pay for the food services, do they kind of determine what food the schools are given, or is it like a budget that we're allotted, or?
No, it's pretty much like we have like our commodities trucks that come in and we get whatever they give us kind of thing. There is some ordering, don't get me wrong, there is some ordering, but there is some that comes on like automatic delivery. Here's your share based on your population kind of thing. So it's a combination of both, I would say.
Healthy foods.
Any other questions? John?
I just wanted to add, that's actually conversation for the supplemental budgets coming up at the state level. So if anyone thinks that should keep going, you should reach out to your state rep or state senator, because that's going to happen in the next couple of months.
Only if they get rid of the corn dogs, pizza bagels.
Okay, if there's no other questions, we can take a look at the budget timeline, which is in your packet.
So as you guys look at this, and especially for new people on the board, for example, February 2, we will ask the principals to share their budget requests that are above and beyond the kind of normal budgeting process that we go through. They may have requests, so they will be here and they will share those requests with the board for evaluation. And you guys will give me feedback on, yes, keep those in, no, take those out, that kind of thing. So that's what you see when it says kind of budget workshop is, so you'll see on February 2, you'll see all the elementary school principals, the middle school principal, and I'll share the high school budget. Then on February 16, Ryan Reserve will share special education with you. Karen Smith will share the English language learner budget, gifted and talented. Diane will talk about technology. On down the line, you'll see Sean on March 2. And we will review our COVID grants, our CRF grants, and our ESSER grants, just so you guys have a standing on where those are. And then we'll do Brant with Cohen extracurricular, followed by Kelly Thompson for transportation. And then the miscellaneous smaller kind of cost centers there, food service, health service, all of those people will be here. I won't list them all right now. We usually, on the 16th, we will have our auditor here so we can talk about the previous year's budget and what kind of shape we were in. And we will also have we invite the local select boards to come to that meeting to give us feedback so you guys can hear kind of from their point of view, their thoughts around school budgeting. And then we kind of keep working from there until we reach the budget validation referendum at the polls on June 14. So it's a busy schedule and there'll be a lot of decisions, especially in March 16, the 23rd, the 6th, the 13th. That's where we have to vote on the budget so that we have it ready to present at the annual meeting on May 18, which then goes to the voters on May 14. So that's the timeline.
Any questions? For discussion? Okay. So, there we go. So the next item is board discussion. So we're going to discuss the budget. Or anything that we've heard so far, any
Actually, I do have a
questions?
question.
Go ahead, Dave.
How much money do we put into the health center with the contracted nurse practitioner? And all the staff over there?
I will have to get you that number, but I will get that for you. Mandy's not here tonight because of a COVID reason. And obviously Bridget's not here, so it may take me a little longer to dig out some of those numbers, but that's okay. So I will definitely get that for you.
Jane, I don't know if, I don't remember the number, but correct me if I'm wrong, from those advisory committee meetings, the money hasn't been in the, or was last year, the first year, there was like a backup,
Yes.
like possibility for funding the health center in our budget. It's mostly come from other places like state grants and stuff like that.
Thank you.
But I can't remember the number.
And I can actually invite Sarah Morrill, who's the director, to come in to talk specifically about the health budget, if you'd like to talk about that, because that's kind of a complex thing because of what Patty just said. We have grants and then we put money in the budget just as a fallback in case. But then you've got like Maine General, we have a contract with, so they come in and do services. But we have a money that we set aside for students who don't have insurance. But Maine General, like it's just very complex. It's a moving target. So, but Sarah could probably explain that much more eloquently than I could.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions or discussion? Peter?
Usually there's some carryover from the previous year, and there should be some this year.
Yes. So last year we had a carryover of $1 million in our revenue line. So as we build the budget going forward, we'll be looking at this year and what should we carry over. Marana Cook has typically tried to carry over, and I hope I'm quoting this right. They typically don't carry over a huge amount, but usually somewhere in the $400,000 range is what they've carried over, which the number has always been actually lower than what the statute allows for carryover.
And there is that statute that says that if we try and carry over more than a certain amount, there's trouble.
Right. Well, it's not trouble, but you do have to inform the voters, and then you can only use that money in certain ways. Like, it's not just like, oh, money, you can use whatever. You actually have to bring it. The board would have to authorize it. We'd have to put it before the towns to be able to spend it, so. Any other questions or discussion? Sean?
If you could remind me, like, what do we have for funds or to catch students up for?
So we've still
That kind
got,
of stuff.
right now, we've got the full $80,000 that we set aside, plus summer school, and I hope I'm saying this right, I believe it's another $80,000 in summer school, and I believe we've got another $50,000 for kind of enrichment programs. So I was actually talking to someone today and said, we need to start planning that now. So that's all on our agenda going into the end of the winter and the beginning of the spring here to get that all set up, especially for the summertime.
Then we added the principal, was that a 2-year? Can you remind me?
Yes, that was a 2-year commitment. Yep. Yeah, those are all things we're gonna have to talk about, so.
But that's not for this budget cycle.
Right, yeah, that's not, because that'll be on grant, so it won't be on this budget cycle, right? But it's good to keep it in the back of our minds looking forward.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I mean, is there talk of, do we need to add more money? I think that's something we gotta think about. Kids are missing school every day. And that's a concern, a huge concern of mine. And I know of others in the community. And I think that's something we need to keep in mind as we move this budget forward, because I understand it's nobody's fault that COVID's here, but kids are missing huge amounts of school. And I think we've got to figure that out to get kids the education they need. And if that means extending school year into the summer, I'm not opposed to looking into that further. Because kids are missing a huge amount of time. People are doing the best they can with that home learning, but it's not what everybody thinks. And that's all I'll say.
Diane? Tyler?
To Sean's point, I mean, if you do the math, that's on what we have, that's about $220,000. So roughly ballparking $200 a student. My question is, I'm assuming you probably don't have this, but what percentage of the students are behind where they were pre-COVID? Like if we look at the overall performance of our students, you know, what percentage are behind where they should be compared to 2019?
So that's where we would need to take a look at like our standardized testing. In this case, we use NUIA, and we are going to be presenting information to you guys based on our fall and then our spring results of the NUIA. So we will be coming and sharing that with you, Tyler. I don't know off the top of my head, but we've already started to look at that data going forward. We have it in the elementary schools. Dr. Smith has been able to come up with some of that information, and she was just starting to look at the middle school to see if she could kind of do some comparisons as to what's going on. It's exactly your question. So as soon as she's done that, we will bring it forward to you.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions or discussion? Are there any citizen comments regarding the budget? Go ahead, John.
Yes, hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you. First, in case you missed it, England has now joined at least 6 other countries in lifting all the pandemic restrictions, including masking, mandated vaccinations, anything to do with schools. And tonight, what I would like to propose to you, have you ever wondered why not all students get COVID? And it's not the vaccines. It's due to the fact that some individuals have stronger immune systems than others. And there are ways to boost your natural immunity. Diet, exercise, nutritional, medicinal supplements. These are critical to a good immune system. I encourage you this year to establish a COVID health awareness and nutritional supplement program similar to the program I outlined to you last year. This would include funds for a nutritional supplement packet, much like they do in India, and I'd be happy to share with you samples of those. It would also include educational inserts to help students and parents understand what steps they can take to improve their immune systems. You might also hold workshops with knowledgeable nutritionists, health professionals, and diet specialists to reinforce immune boosting practices and help understand the supplement package usage. I would project a cost of around $20,000. I believe I mentioned that last year. I believe it could be developed and deployed by the health teachers in the health center. I hope this coming year you will be proactive in this area and innovative in your approaches in regards to COVID this next coming year. I would be happy to answer any questions at any time on this proposal if you choose to move forward with this idea. Thank you for letting me present this idea tonight.
Thank you, John. Are there any other comments from the public?
So we've reached the end of our agenda. So Rebecca, do you have anything to tell us about how we adhered to our norms?
I think we adhered to our norms very well. Everyone spoke and were respectful and didn't interrupt and spoke to each other in a positive way. I think we did a good job, team.
Thank you for observing that, and thank you, everyone, for your positive energy tonight. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn. Second.
All those in favor? Do we have to do a roll call? All those in favor? Adjourned.